Okay, did it record? Hold on. Okay, good. We're recording. Welcome to Inspirational Journeys, everyone. My name is Ann Harrison Barnes, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Karina Kantas on the show. Welcome, Karina. How are you?
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing really well, thanks.
Thank you so much for coming. Let me go to my okay, I needed to get to your bio so I could give you a little introduction. All right. Let me go down. All right, now I'm going to give you a little introduction so that people know who you are. Karina Kantas is an author, singer, and entrepreneur. She's a prolific author with 11 titles in the genres of fantasy, romance, horror, science fiction, comedy, thriller, dystopian, young adult, romance, erotica, flash fiction, and poetry. Oh, wow. I've started writing poetry too. Karina has been working in this industry for over 25 years. Congratulations. And runs Author Assist, affordable services for independent authors. She is an author's manager, social media consultant, marketing and promotion manager, VA, designer, and narrator. She lives on the island of Corfu in Greece. Sorry if I mispronounced that.
No, that's great.
Good. Thank you. And I also understand that you host your own radio show too, but we'll get into that in a bit. Let me get back to okay. We'll get into that in a minute, but the first question I would like to ask authors from here on out is, what inspired you to become a writer?
You know, when people say to you, you can't do it, it sort of gives you an incentive to say, oh, yes, I can. Basically, I spent one summer school holidays creating this little book. It was full of poetry, short stories. I decorated all the borders and I did a little cover for it, stapled it all together, and I was so proud of it. I went back to school after the summer holidays, gave it to my English teacher. It wasn't part of the homework or anything. It was just something that I did for myself. She gave it back to me covered in red pen, not just showing me the errors with my punctuation and what have you, but making really nasty comments about the stories, about the plot or whatever. And that just really upset me. And I said to her, you know, I tried really, really hard with that and I love writing. And she just turned around and said, you'll never be a writer. So it's proven myself right and proven her wrong. Also, I was losing the word now. I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was in my last year of my upper school, which was very, very embarrassing to do those extra lessons of the cat sat on the mat. And again, it was just to prove that I could do it. And 25 years later, 11 books, I'm doing well.
Wow, that's amazing. And I let somebody tell you can't do it to make you want to prove that you can.
It's an incentive, yeah, definitely.
Wow. So I'm trying to think of another question here. So what inspired you to help authors?
After I've made my mistakes and I've been burnt by publishers, and you know, you learn things as you go along in the trade. I've always had the gift of the gab. I've always been able to, I've been good with the promotion and marketing. I did all that as a career anyway. And I just seem to have the natural ability to be able to, I don't know, organise things, relate to things. I basically know what I'm doing without doing it. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to give back, because when I first started, I had so much help from these other authors in these different website forums and stuff. And I wanted to give back everything that I learned. So I started off with narrations and book trailers, and then it went on from there. And I have about 25 plus services now, everything ranging from helping with the writing right through to publication and marketing and promotion. So yeah, I just want to. The thing about me is I'm not a money grabbing businesswoman. I'm doing this, of course, to earn some money, but I'm also doing it to pass my torch on to someone else. And there's so many struggling independent authors out there. They've had this dream to publish a book, they've done it, and now they're like, oh, what's next? What do I do next? And that's where I come in. I don't just want to do my job and do my marketing promotion and do their advertising and what have you. I want to teach, and that's what I do. I teach my clients how to do it themselves. I don't want them to come back to me for the same task and pay me. I want them to be able to do it themselves. And so that's the whole reason why I set up Author Assist.
And I love that, because if you can learn how to do it yourself, you don't have to constantly pay somebody to continue to do the work for you. And that's what I like about your creative entrepreneurship. She's an authorpreneur, you guys. She does writing, promotion, and promotes other authors. And I love how, and I love it. And I wish that there were so many other authors that would give back. Can you tell me a little bit about your writing process? Are you a planner, a pantser, or a little bit in between?
I think I'm supposed to. I'm both, really, but I start off with an idea. So my plotting will be, okay, I know where I'm going to start, no idea what's going to happen in the middle, and I hope that's what's going to happen in the end. And that's how it starts. But most of my ideas actually come from dreams and nightmares.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where the story starts. It will start like when you have a scene from a film, a conflict, something really dramatic. That's where my story starts. It starts with something dramatic, and then it's, okay, how did I get to that scene, and what happens after that scene? And that is my creative process. I start with a dramatic scene and then decide how I got there and how I get out of it, and then everything just comes together from then on.
And you sound so much like me. I'm multi-genre. I write Christian fiction. I write, I've started writing fantasy too. But I get inspiration from dreams too. So it like I said, you and I knew that when I met you in the Facebook groups and all this kind of stuff, I knew you and I would have a lot in common with our writing career. So do you have any advice for aspiring authors?
Don't rush into publishing your book. Oh my gosh, I made that mistake. I think every author makes that mistake. It's so eager to get their work out there. The thing is, you need to understand, authors, is that you get one chance. If you send out a unpolished, unfinished piece of fiction and you get your name, you get bad reviews for it, people know that you put out a bad book, unless you change your name and go to a pen name, then that's your time gone. You get one chance. There is so much competition here. There is so much rules without you knowing the rules, that you only get one chance, and so you really don't want to mess it up. Before you publish, make sure that your manuscript is polished, which means you need a professional editor, not your next door neighbour. You need a professional editor. You need someone who's professional at formatting your book. Now, a formatter doesn't just make the inside look pretty. They do the beginning of the book, they do the ending of the book, acknowledgements and what have you, and they do chapters. And so they sort all that out for you and make sure your book is perfect, ready to be published. Then you need your proofreader. Your proofreader is going to go through the manuscript with a magnifying glass and come across any of the errors that your editor has missed out. And trust me, it doesn't matter how many editors you have, how many proofreaders you have, you're still going to find little mistakes. Even with the best-selling authors now in Amazon, you're going to find mistakes in their books. Simple as that. It happens. There's nothing you can do about it. A beautiful cover. Always make sure you have beautiful cover. Yes, it is first impressions, and yes, people do judge a book by its cover. So beautiful cover, beautiful manuscript, polished, and then you're ready to publish.
Thank you so much. I have to agree with that because honestly, when I first started my publishing mistake, I won't go into it all here, but even though I had a really good cover, I didn't have an editor at the time. So I've learned to have somebody else look at your work and also have a good cover and make sure that you know what you're getting into when you go in with a publisher. And also, once you are ready for a publisher, look around for if you're going to independently publish, get somebody to help you. And also, I'm just adding to the tips here. And also, don't pay somebody to publish your work. I've made that mistake. Have you ever made that mistake?
I did when I first started. I was with a vanity publisher. I didn't pay lots of money, but I got burned badly, so I lost out on that.
So did I. I'm telling you, people, don't pay for publishing.
They think that beginning authors, we are very desperate, and they take advantage of that. And it's very easy for them to convince a desperate author to publish with them and to go with their rules and to listen, because they're apparently the professionals. So of course the author's going to listen to them and think they're doing the right thing, and then they're basically taking your money and treating you badly. Right.
So one question I had, you and another author, I don't know if she wants to be named on here, so I won't.
That's fine, yes, that's fine. Yeah, Karen, yeah.
You and Karen J. Mossman have published 2 versions of the same book. What was that like? Did you guys collaborate on that, or were you just writing individually?
She was my client way before we became really good friends. We've known each other for years through my author assist work, and then we decided to work together on this book. We both came up with the same idea. I mean, she liked the idea of the dystopian. It's something we've never done before. We've never worked in that genre before. I've always wanted to write a novel about a city underground with rules and no one going above ground for some reason. And so Toxic, which is about a group of, not a group, it's the planet basically, is covered with acid rain. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does happen, of course, you need shelter. So they've all moved into these mountains and they've been living in there for hundreds of years now, and they have their own rules and regulations and what have you. But then you have there's this plant that's living outside in the acid rain, and this plant can actually help with illnesses. It can help with injuries. It has so many properties for the health and living of these people that they need it to survive. And so there's these rangers that go outside to look for these plants. The problem is you've got the other half that are using the plant as a drug. And so they're desperate to get hold of the plant so that they can have their fix. But they live outside. No one knows where they live, but they live outside. So you've got the savages outside and then you've got the mallets inside. Both of them are fighting over this plant that they both need to survive. And that's basically what Toxic is about. There's a love story. There's where the main character has to face her bully, which brings back lots of bad memories for her. And so that's the story, and we worked together on that, and we got together on camera, and we had a few brainstorming sessions, and we worked really well. And I just said to her that I'd really, because I was getting into reading a lot of erotica and BDSM stories, and I wanted to have a go, and I thought that this dystopian would be perfect for that. I didn't want to write an erotica dystopian. I wanted to write a dystopian with some erotica, which apparently I've done very, very well, and it fits in apparently really good for those that have read it so far. So my version of Toxic is the erotica version, and then Karen's version is the clean version, the clean romance. So we're giving our readers a choice. Do you want to read erotica or do you want to read the clean version? And they're both the same price, exactly the same story. They're not exactly the same story, they're the same plot, but of course there's variations because of the different scenes that are in them.
Wow, that is amazing. I honestly, I've never worked with somebody did something like that before with somebody. So, tell me, what is BDSM for the listeners? Because I don't even know what that is.
Uh, it's hardcore erotica. It's oh, how can I put it?
What does it stand for?
Yeah, dominant and submissive, master and slave, pets and whips and
Okay.
things.
Okay.
I didn't want to go into it too much because, of course, this is
The Christian-based podcast. I know, but still, I mean, I hear that term thrown around, and I'm like, what does BDSM stand for? So it's basically hardcore erotic romance, which a lot of Christians won't read. But at least,
sorry, the Toxic isn't a BDSM book. It's an erotica, but it's not BDSM. It's just something that I've been reading a lot about, and I will eventually write one myself with it, but Toxic isn't. So it's not so in your face, but it is erotica.
Yeah, I've read in my in my younger days, I read some of that stuff, and now I just won't touch it. Oh,
right, fair enough. Yeah, each to their own. This is why we've given them the opportunity of having the choice. I didn't just Karen didn't want to have a name to an erotica, which is fine. So we decided to do two versions, and I've never heard of another author or authors doing this, so I think it's quite unique, and I'm hoping it would take off.
Yeah, I mean, guys, no, I know that not to get into delving into stuff, because like we said, this is a Christian podcast, but I just wanted you to kind of get an idea of what she was talking about instead of going, what, But anyway,
Yeah.
So tell me about the radio show. What inspired you to do that?
I was a guest on Artist First Radio Network on Author First was the show. And we were talking about the industry, about my books and what I've done and everything. And the guy who's interviewing me, he's actually the station manager, we clicked. And after the show, he said, everything you've said has really, really hit me. And I think you'd be perfect. And I'd like you to have your own show.
Wow! So
I was actually, yeah. I mean, I was interviewed on the radio and then given my own show. So that was a real. That was amazing. Yeah.
Hey, that was a blessing, and that was a blessing in itself. I mean, really, that's, it's all about who you know, and it's all about who you connect with in the author community.
Exactly. I mean, this has been going on 2.5 years now. I only do it once a month. I tried with a Patreon account to try and get sponsors to afford, because I have to pay for airtime, unfortunately. I don't get paid to do it. I have to pay them. But I wanted to do it twice a month because it was getting so popular, and but I couldn't afford it, so I did a Patreon account. Fortunately, that didn't kick off like I hoped it would, so I'm stuck with doing it just once a month. But I have 2 guests on in 1 hour for the show, 2 guests on. Some of them are first authors, independent, others are bestsellers. They have movie deals and what have you, and I chat with them about their books, about the industry. In the middle, in the break before my next guest, I always have an independent rock band featured, their song, and talk about them. I used to sing in a rock band, so rock music has always had a passion with me, and I really wanted to do that because Artist First Radio Network is all about independent artists. It's about musicians and it's about authors doing it on their own and giving them some push by this amazing platform that has thousands and thousands of listeners all the time, and these fantastic shows on it. And so I wanted to give these independent rock bands a fighting chance, even though my show is about authors and about the industry and about books and stuff. I feature a band in the middle, and it works really, really well.
Yeah, because they have a story to tell and an inspirational journey to share too. But you know what? I will pray that you get sponsors for your show. That'll be my prayer for you, and I'll ask my other friends to pray as well, because we all need a little help now and then.
Thank you. I've actually cancelled it. I've cancelled the Patreon account. I've stopped asking now. It didn't work, and I'm okay with that. I'd like to.
It's not the be all end all. I mean, you could get blessed with sponsors from other places. You never know.
Well, yeah. the numbers are really good for the listeners, and I've got regular people listening to the show, and I love.
You there? Uh-oh. Hello? Karina? Oh, no.
Yeah. No, I'm here.
I'm sorry. My connection went south there for a minute. Sorry about that. I'm going to cut this kind of short because I don't want to lose you completely. So I would ask you a really tough question, but since I'm running on a really low connection, where can people find you on? Okay. So if you could have a conversation or be educated by anyone in anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
Gosh, there's quite a few people, but the only person who really stands out for me, and it's not to do with getting educated, it's basically to thank her. Essie Hinton, author of The Outsiders, Mumblefish, That Was Then, This Is Now, Tex, and Star Runner, is the reason I became an author. After reading her books when I was at school, I tried finding more of these rebel-type fictions, greasers and socialists, and about outlaws, about teenagers just not feeling like they fit into society, and they only have each other to rely on, to one another, and that is their family, is their group. So I looked for more of these books, and there weren't any, and I thought, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And so I wrote In Times of Violence, which was my first novel, all because of Essie Hinton, who wrote The Outsiders. So if I could meet anybody, it would be her, to thank her for an absolutely amazing book that people know all around the world because it's a classic now. Yeah, just sit with her and chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a book I want to recommend to you since you like that. I read one called The Bright Side of Darkness by J.E. Pinto.
Okay.
I read it on Audible. Yeah, I do want to recommend that one to you because it starts out with that outsider's feel, and then he learns and grows as the story grows. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but yeah, I do recommend that for you guys. Yes, The Bright Side of Darkness is the name of it. So now, where can people find you online?
Everywhere. If I tell you the easiest way to do without giving loads and loads of addresses, if you go onto my Facebook personal page, just Karina Kantas, click on the banner, and all of my links to all of my social pages, my social networks, my website, my mailing list, anything to do with Author Assist, my radio show, all the links are attached to that banner. So that's where you'll find me.
Okay, and you sent that all to me when you sent me the initial email with in the questionnaire, right? Hello?
I sent, yeah.
Okay, yeah. If you send it to me, I've got it. I'll put it in the blog post because I'm gonna do a double feature blog post with the links to the the link to the podcast and the YouTube video in it. So and I will definitely get your links included in that. So I want to thank you so much for being here on the show today. Thank you for all of this, even in the midst of all of our internet connections and thinking that there was going to be some really bad weather, which we got some coming up. So I want to thank you for being here. And my Bible verse for you guys today is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me. And I want to say a quick prayer before we go. Heavenly Father, I thank you for having this episode, allowing it to be done. Father, I want to thank you for my time spent with Karina. I also want to pray for protection for us in the midst of these storms. Father, I pray that all the listeners are blessed in their endeavors, and I pray that you will bless Karina in her endeavors to help her promotional services grow, to sponsor her radio show. Father, I pray all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen. Now, in closing, we challenge you today to go out there and read something inspiring. Read something to get inspired, write something inspiring, and share it with the world. For when you've touched one life, you've touched 1,000. Thanks for joining me on Inspirational Journeys, and you guys have a blessed day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.